Hello everybody, hope you're having a good time. I am Moss from Game Host. Following your requests, today we will be looking at the game SkullMonkeys, a sequel to the popular game The Neverhood. Now, if you haven't watched a review of The Neverhood, I strongly suggest that you do. You can find a link in the descriptions below this video. Now, without further ado, let's get down to business. Now, pay attention, we're talking about SkullMonkeys, not monkey skulls. Ew, that would be too weird. Too weird. Anywho, this game continues the story of the Neverhood. The story picks up where the previous game ended. If you recall, the Neverhood had a happy ending. Unless you went for the bad one. Naughty naughty. With KLAYMEN successfully reviving Hoborg and the whole land being populated by people. Now, do you remember the villain Clog? What's that? Do I mean that ugly twisted son of a gun? Yeah, the very same. At the end of the Neverhood, Clog was banished from the land, shot away with the blast of a cannon. You might have thought that he died and disappeared, but guess what? He's back! Don't ever believe a villain is dead unless you see the body and check the pulse and perhaps cut off the head and just to be sure, take the head with you and put it in your basement. Anyway, Clog's little flight through the air has put him on another planet, one called Idznak. That planet is inhabited by creatures called SkullMonkeys. So there you go, you have the title. To make matters worse, there's also an insect race. Great. Bugs. Yeah. Now, good old Clog plots his revenge, as one does. He becomes the leader of the SkullMonkeys, planning to make what is called Evil Engine Number 9, which he's gonna use to destroy the Neverhood. So naturally, we're gonna have to stop him, because why not? And who better to choose for the task than the hero who saved the world? Enter, wait for it, KLAYMEN! Yay! So, to sum up, Clog is back, you're KLAYMEN, stop the bad guy and save the world. Simple, right? Not exactly. As KLAYMEN, you are abducted and sent to the alien planet, where you shall embark on an adventure to thwart Clog's evil plan. Now, the story is not the only thing about SkullMonkeys that follows its predecessor. It also uses the same beautiful and charming claymation technique, with eye-catching sights and creatures built with real clay and with incredible detail. The music also follows the same cool, goofy style of the Neverhood, as it is once again composed by Terry Scott Taylor. Hey, Uncle Terry! Still, some may say that SkullMonkeys is not exactly a sequel to the Neverhood, in the true sense of the word. But why is that? Well, although the story and the art style follow the original, the game style and mechanics do not. Absolutely not. The Neverhood was a point-and-click adventure game. The only challenge it presented to the player was the puzzles. There was no action or button mashing of any kind. It was a calm, slow-paced journey through a mostly peaceful land. SkullMonkeys, however, is the exact opposite of that. There are no puzzles this time, only action. This sequel is actually a platformer. Instead of exploring a land at your own pace, solving puzzles, you'll be constantly running and jumping and ducking and looking and shooting bad guys with all sorts of weapons and collecting items to gain extra lives and doing bonus levels and fighting bosses, etc., in the same style of classic arcade games. There's an abundance of cutscenes in the same spirit of the original game as well, but the game mechanics and elements bear absolutely no resemblance or connection to the Neverhood. Well, I guess that's why it's called SkullMonkeys and not Neverhood 2, am I right? The developers of the game, that is, Team Neverhood, have put a lot of effort into building the world and creatures of SkullMonkeys. You'll be fighting all sorts of foes and bosses. Now, how about we take a quick look at one of the most famous, funkiest bosses in the game, Jawhead Joe. Just look at that thing. You see that face? Fun fact, that is actually the face of one of the game's designers, Joseph Sanabria. I mean, isn't that just awesome? Jawhead Joe can breathe fire and deploy his eyes from their sockets. Fortunately though, he's rather slow and can't jump very high. KLAYMEN's adventure gets him closer and closer to his enemy. Eventually he comes face to face with the evil engine that's set to target and destroy the Neverhood. KLAYMEN tries to prevent it from launching, and when he fails, he heroically jumps on it and makes his way inside. Why do people always do that? Just sit your ass down and survive. Who cares about a planet made of clay? Jeez, why can't heroes be selfish for a change? Anyway, KLAYMEN successfully makes his way inside the machine, leading to the last area of the game. Once this area is beaten, we are presented with the final cutscene, the ending. As Neverhood comes face to face with a potential apocalypse and its inhabitants begin to ponder whether there's a life after death. Well, actually they don't. I mean, they're made of clay. Their brains are made of clay. They're clay-headed, clay-brained, clay-ass freaks. But I digress. Sorry, must have forgotten my pills today. So, KLAYMEN finds a way to stop the evil engine in the nick of time. Well, of course he does. The giant doohickey crashes, barely brushing against the Neverhood, and KLAYMEN makes a dive into space to avoid being caught in the explosion. And then, for reasons I have yet to comprehend, he starts taking photos with his camera as he moves further and further away into the void. I mean, seriously, buddy, who the hell are you taking the photos for? Well, perhaps the creators used that as a gimmick to distract us from the unhappy fact that the hero's gonna die. Or is he? I mean, the last character who got shot into the void ended up on another planet, so who knows? Okie dokie, now you've got a pretty good idea what this game is all about. If you're a fan of the original Neverhood, chances are you're an adventure gamer, in which case you may not really enjoy the sequel much, but even so, give it a shot. It's a fun ride, though it can get really redundant sometimes, feeling repetitive, boring, and unoriginal, which is one of the things that made many give it negative reviews despite its beautiful aspects. But you never know until you've played it yourself. I shall say no more. That's it for our review of SkullMonkeys. If you'd like us to review a game, let us know in the comments section below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon with another video from Game Host. Stay tuned, stay sharp.